in a bid to advocate for the interests of mining host communities across Nigeria, whose communities are penetrated for economic gains while the residents are left vulnerable with inadequate livelihoods. The Federation of Mining Host Communities set up the National Convention/training for members of the Federation. The event centered on making mining work in Nigeria, considering the concentration on other sectors, particularly the oil and gas sector of the country. The keynote of the program was how to make Nigeria maximize itself through mining and also to serve as an advocacy for host communities to acquire fair and beneficial treatment while their communities serve as mining sites. A representative of a host community in Ogun State, when asked on collection of monetary benefits supposedly belonging to host communities by some community leaders and representatives, had this to say.
Over time, we've been so obsessed with oil and gas, and despite the fact that we started from mining back in 1902 or 1903, we have quite a lot of resources that come from oil and gas, but unfortunately, we've not been doing well as a country in terms of how we've managed the resources in oil and gas. And now that there is wind of change currently blowing about energy transition, we are also already seeing that despite efforts that have been put in place since the 80s to get mining off the ground, we've seen a new law, we've seen regulations, we've seen a lot of roadmap how to transit this, but not much has happened in terms of making Nigeria a destination for mining business. And above all is the issue of beneficiation that we have not seen in terms of the value we add to the minerals that are mining in this country. So, yes, you could say that the figures in terms of what NATE is churning out on a yearly basis as money that are coming from mining into the Federation account are getting higher. But the fact remains that we've not witnessed relative growth and development.
Speaking on effects of mining on host communities and illegal mining, said,
it's a very difficult terrain to tread because most of the time what we face is that many miners do not really think the affairs of the communities are important. And that has been the major problem that we have been facing. Because the regulatory law says miners should sign a community development agreement with the host communities. But most of the time we discover that where these community development agreements are even signed, let's say they were signed, they are never implemented to the letter. But most of the time, what you find out is that the CDAs are not signed. And this is because the community, the host communities, are not empowered. They are not empowered to know their rights.
Others who spoke on effects of mining on host communities and illegal mining said,
first, the issues of natural resource governance is increasingly becoming something of global interest, seeing the fact that over the years, we, as a people, we're beginning to realize the fact that sometimes what we do is robbing Peter to pay Paul. That is the essence of trying to, in the attempt to explore natural resources for cost for revenue and the rest, we end up putting people's lives in those communities at risk. We end up exposing them to vulnerability. As a matter of fact, one of the key things now that is coming up is the fact that we tend to forget the fact that water itself is natural resource. And so what we see continually now is we mining other solid minerals at the detriment of the water itself, because we mine these minerals, put this industrial waste back into the rivers, into the waters, and then we are losing water, which is the key natural resource. And so these are some of the conversations that are beginning to go on to see how best we can make the lives of the people better. You don't go to people's communities, get economic gains, and then leave them vulnerable to they don't have access to good water, they don't have access to their farms anymore, or their livelihood. So you are leaving them vulnerable in their attempts to have economic gains. And so was because of all of this that Global Rights decided to bring together the interest of these mining host communities across Nigeria to be able to strengthen their capacity to engage and collectively struggle and demand for what is theirs. And that is what has led to the formation of the Federation of Nigerian Mining Host Communities, to have this mining host community band together to push their agenda and to see that their livelihood and their very existence are protected even while the mining activities go on in those communities.
So next step, does it just end here? What's the next